And welcome, everyone. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And here we are once again with these weird, wonderful ladies, Tara, Carol, and Amber. And they constitute Protecting the Nest, a group that's been together since our first charrette back in July of 2019. 4 years now to celebrate in just a couple of weeks, which happens on my wife's birthday, of course. So
Oh,
that
nice.
was a beginning of so many wonderful things that have happened ever since. And that experience has grown and grown and grown, and roots and tentacles of it all over the place. You guys are an example. You're spread all over the country, but you're good friends, and you cooperate and keep the home fires burning. And we talk about things that you guys focus on. As me, I'm like into what's going on in the war, and what's going on in politics and everything. But I offer you guys the platform to set the stage, or set the agenda tonight. Um, in in that sense, let's get started. So, Carol, you were here first. Let's start with you. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good, and it's wonderful that you sort of reminded us of our roots at the charrette because Amber and I were just at one, and it was really fun because it was more we did real sleuthing. We were going all over the place and looking at things, finding things that we didn't know were there, and so it was just great. It was like getting out of your grandmother's basement.
Was that the charrette with George at
Yeah.
in
Hmm.
Pennsylvania? Yeah, and did
Yeah.
you see Mark? Was he there?
Oh, yes, and I'd never met Mark. I wasn't at the first one, and so it was
Right.
really wonderful to finally get to meet Mark after all these years. How many? 5, 6, whatever. A long, long time, and we feel like we know each other. So it's really great. And there are some new people too. There was a woman who came all the way from Switzerland, and she'd been to the charrette that George did in France. So she'd been to
I
one
might know.
before.
I might know her. I think she was in touch with me a couple years ago. That's great. And
Yeah.
well, anyway, I'm just really excited that everything continues to grow. And that's, to me, despite the challenges that we have, just about all of us have gotten taken down on YouTube, and yet we fight back. And of course, I'm very much promoting Rumble right now, and anybody that would please join my Rumble channel. It's McDuff Lives, all one word. I have 344 subscribers right now, or followers
Mm.
they call it there, and I'm aiming for 1,000. And when I get to 1,000, then I'm going to feel like I'm just going to say whatever I want to. I'm going to fly free, and goodbye YouTube rules, because I can't stand those people over there, or AIs, or the bots, or whoever they are.
Yeah.
Want to get away from them. But until I have 1,000, I don't feel like I'm going to be fair to all the people that have subscribed to me on YouTube that won't have got the word yet. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm double broadcasting, actually on Facebook too, and Facebook channel is growing pretty well. And I've also added now archives, not only on BitChute but also at Odyssey, so you can see all my shows now on Odyssey. And the archive now at BitChute is 3 years old, so there's a lot of my good old shows there. Anyway, enough about me. Let's go next. Who was here next? I think it was Amber, right?
Mhm.
Yes. What do you want to know, John?
Well, Amber, told you I think you should set the topic, but if you don't want to, I'll give you I'll toss a hot potato at you.
Well, I can jump to what Carol was saying. We went to the charrette. It was amazing. I'm
Oh,
very
you went.
hyper. Yes,
Mhm.
I'm
Oh,
very
I'm so glad. Oh,
hyperactive.
that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we took the kids. It was me, my husband, and the two boys,
Wow.
and drove. So we stopped off at DC first. Then we camped out in Fairfax, Virginia. Then we
Hmm.
drove the rest of the way up to Pennsylvania. Got to the campsite. Stayed there for 2 days, and then left and went to Amish country to show the kids Amish country, do a train ride. And then we went to the Hershey Chocolate Factory, like museum thing, so they
Hmm.
could see that, and then drove home. So I'm pretty hyper, so we have to stay on the go all the time. But I had an amazing time. Got to snoop around Windber, and that was so much fun. And the kids got into it, and we all felt like Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
and Watson. So we had a blast. And I love taking camping trips and road trips. They're so much fun.
Yeah. On the road again. Can't wait to get back on the road again. Yeah. Oh, I remember I played in a lot of bands that, four guys in a car just going, 200 miles to a gig, just having a great time the whole way. Anyway, Tara, great to see you. How you doing?
Hello, everybody. Well, you guys are talking about one of me and Dave's favorite things to do. We love cruising together, listening to music, sometimes sleuthing, because when you're driving by stuff, there's so many mysteries, like different trucks that drive by, different things you read, companies you know what I mean? You're just like, I wonder where that is. Oh, look it up or something, so you can make, and especially traveling with the kids, Amber, too. That is so much fun. And there's so many opportunities for just family adventures and all kind of stuff. So I'm one of the biggest fans of being out on the road. I almost made it over there. We had too much of a limited time, and luckily some of my other family members were getting to be out and be free. But honestly, I do want to have everyone come to like do a Cape Cod charrette at some point. Like I've been in my mind and heart, I've been building up to this, but
Yeah.
just
That would
fighting
be
the war. I'm a little slow.
That would be amazing. And how you spoke about the kids, like we took the opportunity to teach them research skills. So there was a guy that was there when Flight 93 crashed. He was a local that was used to, working on the scene. But of course, all the locals were put on like bringing in food and beverage duty because the big guys came in to take care of it. And before we actually were talking to him, we had gone to the museum, the Flight 93 museum. And my son was kind of looking around at all the stuff and he said, "Why are there names on that jacket?" And I said, "Well, it could have been the first responders. It could have been people that were there on the scene. It could have been, people that they just said, 'Hey, this is who's going to be here.'" He goes, "We should take a picture so we can find out who they were." So we took a picture, not thinking about it. Then when we got to the pizza place to interview the guy who was there, I remembered my son saying it. I take out the picture and I asked the guy, he looks through the names and he was like, "That's interesting. This guy was there. I'm surprised he was there." No, they weren't the first ones there, but that's the jacket they put there as if that was the main group. When the main group came in jeans and in a truck and showed up and then more swiftly moved out, these were just guys who were like the headliners of, look, these are the locals that were there, but they didn't come till well into the whole scenario, and they were kind of on the outskirts as well. So they just put this random jacket with the names that made you assume that they were an integral part to something that they really weren't. And so the guy that was there was able to decipher, these are people he'd known forever. And some, he was like, "I'm surprised he was there. I didn't even see him there." And like, and then it got into other people who had commented. And I remember Lee Wilbarger saying when he was at the Pentagon, he was there for the straight 72 hours, didn't even go to sleep at all. And when he didn't go to sleep, there's no pictures of him even being there. And they picked their favorite people, and those are the ones that in all the museums, those are the ones that get shown. And it doesn't matter who was actually there. It's politics, it's favorites. And so he had to pull out the pictures that he had in order to prove that he was there for 72 hours. So that's what that guy at the pizza place was essentially saying, is that there they are, the locals. They should be the names, but it's just whoever was chosen politically in order to be the guys who were the guys. So that was very interesting. And because of my son asking those questions and then sharing with him how that helped, he started asking more questions. So we're getting them on the research train.
More than that, you've done some actual reporting there. That's real journalism there. And so you were able to talk to them, and did you identify anybody that might have actually been at the scene that hadn't been identified yet?
Yeah, Carol was there as well. The guy spoke for a good 2 hours, and everyone's first he did it for the group. Then individuals came and asked him particular questions. But one thing of note, and then Carol can expand, was that he said that pieces of the airplane were actually found right near where we were sitting at the restaurant, which was a good 10 miles from the Flight 93 crash site. So as everyone was talking, you know, they were like, well, you know what that means? And of course, on the video, I go, kaboom. And he's like, well, you know, you can take from it what you want. But yes, some of the parts of the plane were at least 10 miles away that people found. And so that was pretty interesting. Carol, do you remember what
Well, I
interested
need to
you?
know though. What do you mean they found parts of a plane? Were they
Flight
they
93. A
Mhm.
Flight 93.
Were they, did they identify it as, you know, did it have a tail number on it, or?
No, just parts
There
of the
were
plane.
only tiny pieces. That's one of the things you talked about, was that the debris was so little. I think the biggest piece in the museum, they said, was the biggest piece they found was, yeah, about that big. And many of them were really tiny.
That
So,
sounds, if I can just jump in, it sounds
yeah.
so much like the Pentagon, where
Mhm.
it may very well have been a cruise missile painted up to look like a commercial airplane. And, you know, it might have had, you know, a little airplane body with a little tail number on it, a little sign that says, you know, United Airlines on it, but it could have been, you know, tiny, but the kind of thing that if you looked up and saw it going by, you'd say, oh, I saw the airplane.
Well, the guy that saw it, who looked up and saw it going by, we didn't meet him, but the account of him, he
Yeah.
said it was 50 feet in the air. We figured it had to be more than that when everybody was talking
Unless it was
about
a
it.
missile. Unless it
Well,
was a
he said that it, you know, it turned, it went belly up. They saw the wings, they saw the plane.
So it
And
was
then
really, they could testify that it was the size of a real
that
commercial
guy
airplane.
did.
Can't they make a missile any size though?
Well, there were, what he did say, the first thing he said when we said, what do you remember? He said, I saw 2 fighter jets fly over my house. Or the guy we interviewed. And then one of the people at the charrette, who was in Michigan, said that the base, he knew someone at the base that had, the fighter jets had left from. And they said that they had 2 missiles on each plane when they went out and 0 when they came back, was the testimony of the person who was at the base that same day. So we did have that piece of, those pieces of information that might explain. But if they saw it turn over so close to the ground, it, I don't know. We were all trying to figure out. It took quite a bit of thinking about it and what would explain what happened, because it turned and it went straight down. And Marty had a picture of a plane crashing that did exactly that. I think it was the same plane. Did you see that, Amber? He had.
Yes, I did. And in fact, John, big tip, I started to ask about the coroner, because the local coroner that put the pieces, the body parts back together, is there in that town. And he likes to do interviews, and he still is in business. And his name is Wally Miller, and he's the coroner in Somerset. So if you want to ask questions, you could probably get the coroner to talk to you, or, you know, you, Mark, George, or maybe you and Mark do something and invite him and ask pertinent questions, because he's a great grab. I made sure to get his name, and I made sure to ask the guy that we were talking to if the coroner wouldn't mind, because he had to put everything back together. And if he doesn't mind talking about things that stood out, things that were odd, things that may not have been. And he said that he's done plenty of interviews. You could probably find them on YouTube, and he loves to talk to people about it. And he still is the coroner there.
Well,
So,
he's also
FYI.
owns the funeral home, so it'd be really easy to find him, because we walked right by. It said Miller Funeral Home.
Yep.
You know, right next to the restaurant before we got to the art center. So, yeah, the people are. It's not too late. You know, there's people there that do have memories, and they've been there. And one of the things we did that was really, really interesting too was walk up to the library. We tried to find the library that was in another little town closer to the crash, but it didn't really have much. It was kind of disappointing, but we did get the lead for the interview. But this library was an old library. It was a private library, and it had a lot of records. Mark really had fun digging in. We just all were swarming around taking pictures. They had maps. They had old plot lines. And the woman that was from Switzerland recognized one of the original donors to the Widmer um, Cancer Center was named Ryman. And that's a very, very wealthy family that she was familiar with as being one of the owners of SAP. And they own a ton of stuff. And they're very, very quiet about who they are and what they own. So we did find a number of billionaires in this teeny little teeny town. So there were many things that we wouldn't have known had we not been there. But there are lots of first responders accounts that we could, click, take pictures of. There was a lot of information in that little library. So,
And our friend from Switzerland, Carol, before she left, she gave me a task. And because I know some particular people that are very upset at when they left the military and they left NATO, just the dysfunction. And his husband, he's gay, his husband, his family's from the Netherlands. So those two, when I told her that, she said, I've got a task for you. And she told me that I need to go to them to ask about Gary Stern and the Stern strain, and that Macy Battery was found. It was covered with dirt in Nazi Germany, and went to an antique market and found a box, and inside the box was the military uniform and a map. And there was a map to Macy's Battery, and it's an entire battery that was covered in a hiding place with trenches and bunkers during the war. And the hospital that was located right on the Macy Battery, in 2017, 3 Dutch volunteers cleaned up Macy Battery. And they think they found the Stern strain, and that's the anthrax strain of the Stern strain. But that information would lead to whether it was a natural occurring substance or if it was something that had been priorly used, that has just been used over time and time again, and that had been found, but then could locate back. So that's something that she gave me a job to do. So I'm meeting with them to ask them later on in the week, because now I'm curious. I don't know if they're going to know. It's probably an offshoot that why would they know? But, you've got someone who's from that area who may know. Why not ask?
yeah.
So,
Well,
see.
she gave me another job for you, actually, and I sent you an email today. And she had the very morning after we had done the interview, and she woke up, she did a little research and found a Polish CDC director who'd been a director for 24 years and who may know the Rymans. And he was a whistleblower and was really upset about what the CDC had been doing these last few years, and was pretty prolific at writing. And anyway, he probably still lives in Atlanta. And so I sent you a bunch of information. He had
I will look it up. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
he had a
Yay, more
LinkedIn and
snooping.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So,
he's
wait,
76.
what is a battery? Wait, is that like a dugout? I meant
No,
like
it's kind of like where they hid and stored stuff, so they called it a battery. I think that's what she was saying. I kind
like
of
a military term.
yeah.
Yeah, a battery would be something that would get bombs
And they've got
on it.
trenches, and then they had a bunker and a whole area that when they dug it all out, they actually found some vials, and they called it the Stern strain because Gary Stern was there.
And who is Gary Stern, and why is that significant?
Because everyone was very strange about where it came from. They were elusive about it. They said it came from that particular area, and not a lot of people are really they don't really know who this guy is. They don't know a lot, and they want to put these pieces together. This has been bothering people in Germany, as well as people who are wanting to know about anthrax. Is it naturally occurring, or is it a bioweapon that was used and just different strains were given over time during different wars, and kind of where it all began? So it's just people who are curious. I haven't ever been curious about this, but this is one of their pontifications. So any information they can get, it leads them to another little piece. So I was like, I'm happy to ask. I doubt they're going to have any information, but why not? I can say, hey guys, what's going on? And then ask, and they may or may not know. And so we'll see.
Well, it certainly does. Aaron, there's nothing wrong with learning more about anthrax. It's part of the story, a big part of the story. And Mark has enlightened us very strongly as to that. And I see he's here in the chat. And number of good people are saying hello. So hello back, everybody in the chat, both at YouTube and over on Rumble at the new channel. Well, that's exciting, and I'm so glad to see the enthusiasm that you have for pressing forward with these investigations. You know me, I'm hooked on it. I do 10, 11 hours a day, and I'm still excited about it. The more we read, the more we learn. I've been working with Nick from Twitter, who's actually come out with his last name since we started working together. His last name is Petoskey, and he is a veteran student of the HIV/AIDS story, and has put together some terrific presentations showing how this experimentation with monkey and other simian viruses has been part of the military programs since the 50s, and connects all of these different so-called pandemics to various military programs along these lines. He recommended that I get and read this book, which I'm halfway through now, The Virus and the Vaccine, Contaminated Vaccine, Deadly Cancers and Government Neglect, by Debbie Bookchin and Jim Shoemaker. It's about a 2009 book, and it's tragic to read, the way that they made these judgments about whether the polio vaccine was safe or not. They didn't know. They did not know at all.
They just say safe and effective.
But they would just kind of, I guess they just kind of were so psyched up to try to be the one that solves the polio problem. And, of course, there was a lot of money behind it, too, from the Rockefeller Foundation. But the tragedy of it is just enormous. And the recklessness of people that we revere, the white coat magic, of having that lab coat on is like, yes, I'm in the greatest hands I could be, that man with the lab coat. Wow. It's just another really big wake-up call as to the standard of care is very, very low, as far as I'm concerned. And I think Bobby Kennedy is nailing them on these horrible, horrible decisions that have been made. And you know how I feel about it. I feel it's intentional, but I'm not the scientist to prove that. But I would certainly put the scientist on the witness stand if the scientist wanted me to, and do the lawyer thing and get him through the testimony so that we could create a record and possibly prove it.
Well, John,
I'm ready to move on this stuff because it's just too much tragedy happening right after one after another. It's the recklessness of these people and the corruption of the FDA, as Bobby was saying in his most recent talk. He was interviewed on some nationwide program. I don't know what it is, but I saw the clips of it on Twitter. Sure, there's a lot of things that I'm not happy with about Bobby, but I mean, if he will stop these bastards from experimenting with microbes and viruses and vaccines and you name it, I think that would be worth it no matter what his other baggage is, frankly.
So, John, on a late night space last night, that someone tagged me, and I went in at about 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and there was a doctor on there, and she was mentioning symptoms and talking about radiated pneumonia and radiated flu, which is from radiation, which they're looking at it being connected to uranium, and that a lot of what they're seeing symptom-wise, if you look up the symptoms of that in itself looks like it's related to polio and to a lot of these other things, and they're doing a lot of research on that. And they'll be bringing up more information on a space later. So that's probably something Nick and Mark and everyone would want to look into, because it's something that in areas that they're mining for it and that they find a big amount, you get a lot of sickness that looks a lot like polio and some of these viruses that we've seen happen because of the amount of radiation in the body. So there's a lot of people looking at that. So I was up till like 3 or 4 in the morning listening because it was riveting to some of the science they were finding. So, hopefully some of our researchers get on top of it to see what's going on, to see if it's just a dead end or if it's something that they're actually looking into or if there's any validity to it. Just thought I'd mention it. Who knows if it's just, a dead end, but maybe something to keep in the back of our mind or, on a corner page, dog-eared.
Yeah, it's important. We should, there should be a map of all documented, radiated or potentially radiated areas. Was the doctor from the United States?
Yes, and she gets so badly censored, she had to go on somebody else's Twitter to then get on that page under like a friend of hers Twitter account and use her account to then say it. I'll look for the clip because it was recorded, and I'll grab it and I'll take the clip with what she said, and then I'll send it so that you can hear what their pontifications are thus far.
Yeah, we know from Judith that they've been using the radiation to make cancer worse for years and years and years. But one of the things that particularly horrified me when we went to the little medical center, which just looks like a little local hospital, but it's actually the source of the whole human genome project. So there's billions of dollars going into this little thing, but it was originally a hospice, and it had miners that were dying from black lung. And I'm pretty sure, I'm going to guess that then, as of now, it's still a hospice. I was horrified to see that it's also still a hospice because I suspect that they do human testing on them. And I know Hillary Kaprowski was in Philadelphia and maybe even in Pittsburgh too for a long time. And he developed one of the polio vaccines. He was on a competition once the Salk one, hurt everybody and they pulled it off the market. There was this race to get the oral vaccine, and he was real involved in the labs in the Congo and getting monkey viruses sent to him in Philadelphia, and human testing was part of what was going on. So it's just the whole lineage of all this stuff is horrific. The other guy that won out, he also did a lot of human testing in the Congo too, of children, over 1 million.
She names specific medication that she started to take, and within 3 to 4 days felt super healthy because it's something that gets rid of radiation in your body.
Wow.
And
What was
that's
it?
what they tested. I'll have to go back to the clip. It was so late at night,
Maybe
and I was
like
keeping up with
iodine
it. Yes, it's a type, but I'm going to get the specifics and put them into clips of like 1 minute and 30 seconds so I can send it to all of you so you can listen, because there's so much out there and there's so much pontification. Whenever I hear something, it doesn't become my truth. It becomes like in a file of possibility of maybe, but don't get, attached to it. And then see if it correlates. And if it correlates, add it to the file where it has correlation. And then if there's precursors and things that are connected, then add it to that. And then give it to people who study this for a living to see if they can parse through it and give it to multiple people who would understand to see what their take is, it then weigh their opinions, right? And then see if you move forward with, is this something that you're willing to research or to think has, a future in actually looking at it and demanding answers, because they're throwing so much out there on purpose to keep everyone from knowing what road is the actual answer on. So they've cut all these little paths and they've confused everybody. So,
Well,
I think that's when you add prayer, because then you have an idea, then you get the guidance.
There's also stuff you can do, and I saw a marvelous study just yesterday on probiotics and how it was so effective with a big long-term study on long COVID. It just helped.
Dr. Sabine, have you listened to Dr. Sabine? She does the gut biome, and she found most of the coronavirus and the virus is located in the gut, and that people who are doing particular things, it's really bad for the gut. So too much ivermectin, too much of these other things is bad for the gut. So you just take a particular amount, but then everything's about your gut, because that's where a lot of, and she's Dr. Sabine. she gets in trouble on Twitter all the time as well, but she's gotten into arguments with most doctors about the fact that they will not talk about the gut biome.
Yeah, I think the immune system is really hooked to the gut as well as your neurological system too. So it is real powerful to make sure that's in good shape. And
Let me
that's
just,
And I
simple.
read, especially for type O blood.
Interesting. But there's lots of stuff you can do. Just eat fermented foods. There's all kinds of sauerkraut is great for the stomach linings. Sour cream is a really good probiotic for the lower intestine. There's only like 4 that live there. There's a whole bunch in the upper intestine, but it's really not that hard to find, really simple, good solutions for some of these complicated, ridiculous problems.
my wife bought some seaweed salad
Mm.
at our local organic store about 2 weeks ago. And ever since then, it's been sitting in the refrigerator. I noticed there was a little bit missing from the top. And so yesterday I said, "Have you tried your?" She goes, "Oh, that is the worst taste I ever had in my life. I am throwing it away."
But
And I
have you
said,
tried nori, like the dried one? It's
no,
better.
no, no. We're she's just getting started on this stuff. I bought some kimchi, but I didn't eat it. I like it all right, but I just never think of eating it. So I ought to do that. But getting back to some of the things you were talking, I just was making a couple mental notes for you because when you mention uranium, um, I met a lady back in February who was a Navajo, and she was here visiting in Washington because her daughter is a doctor at George Washington University, and she has been treating for cancer for a number of years. And she said that it's the uranium mines. There's uranium mines in the Navajo people's land, and that the wind it carries it, and the people get sick, and it's real, and
That's what that lady was saying last night. So I got to get you the clips because she's a doctor actually physically finding it in the body, and
yeah,
it's a buildup. We all have a buildup, and it depends on how much buildup, how much plus the other toxins, the other GMOs, and the other things that we're not processing. And then
yeah.
these vaccines didn't help. And so that's what she was talking about. But I got to get the clips in a very concise, packaged way so that you guys can parse through it. Because there's so many in our group that will look at it and go particular ways that might help us get some answers here.
Anyway, I think that the Navajo people would be a source for that because it's quite common among those people. What a tragedy
Good point.
that we have done to Native peoples, taking them off their land. And one of the things she said, she said, "Well, we lived on the most beautiful part of the Grand Canyon, and they won't let us live there anymore." That's it's awful what we've done, but. Anyway, that is part of it. The other part, if you really want to get into the transition from Salk to Sabin and all of the controversy and the lies and stuff, this book is really thorough on that subject. And I'll tell you this just because you guys are like my family, okay? And the strangest coincidence happened. I had prostate cancer diagnosed in uh, late 2016, and I treated for it for a couple of years. And I got to the point where they released me from care, and I had you judge this stuff basically by the PSA in your blood, and so it was always negligible, like zero point zero 0.01 or something, and it was great results. And the most recent one was in December, and it was fine. But I just had another test, and it's gone back up again. And I am one of the people that took the Sabine salt sugar cube, We went down to the elementary school and we lined up and we ate the sugar cube. My parents were uncertain whether that we should do it or not, but I think we had to. There was probably a law or rule that said we had to, and they didn't know whether to do it or not. So anyway, we ended up doing it. And this is the subject of SV40. This is the subject of Dr. Mary's Monkey, and this is the subject that Bobby Kennedy is talking about, but much more to my point here. Nick Potosky is working very hard to show these links between the military programs, the um, primatology and to expose what's happened. So while I'm going to have some more tests, and I can't say anything whether it's good or bad. I can just say that when that number goes up, my doctor said it is very concerning, and I need to come in and do some more tests and all that. So, when you're thinking about praying, say something for me, because I am worried about it, and I really think that this whole process of working on all of the discovery that we've been doing for the past 4 years has been terrific for me. I feel very proud of the work that we've all done, and I do believe that I'm going to be fine, but I'm going to have to go through some more of that damn treatment, and I really don't want to do that. So we'll see.
I'll look up that
But,
medication that she talked about, detoxing the body of the radiation and uranium and things.
yeah,
So wait, John, can you tell us what the PSA? What does that stand for?
you can, well, you'd have to look it up. I don't remember what the name of it means, but it is an indication of cancer, and of prostate cancer. It's like a protein something analysis, whatever that means, but it is specific antigen, maybe they're looking for an antigen, maybe. I don't know. Best answer for me to give you is I'm too up in my head about it to try to give you an academic definition, but it is the standard test. And when I first got diagnosed back in 2016, they said it was a very aggressive form of it, and I had like a 12 was the PSA. And so we got busy on it and worked to get rid of it, and it worked.
Well, John,
so like I say, it went from 12 down to negligible, and so now we're back up in the 2 point something. And I don't know how to interpret the numbers, except for that the doctor said he's very concerned and we need to do some more tests, and so that's where I'm at.
Carol
So
has.
I wouldn't put that out there in the world, except for the fact that it is completely part of my life now.
And prayer is part of it.
And Carol knows a lot about some of the mushrooms that fight cancer.
Well, the one that's not a mushroom, but it is a soil bacteria that's a macrophage that's doing amazing. It's like a little Pac-Man, and it targets cancer cells and munches them up. And it's called fenbendazole. And for $100 you can get a jar of powder, and you just need a teeny bit every day. And it's done. There's a lot of studies that it's doing amazing stuff for soft tissue cancer.
We could all throw some money into it and then send John some.
If anybody wants to send me some references, I mean, that'd be great. It's my email is koproductionsusa@gmail.com, and rather than me trying to write down notes right now,
right? Okay,
just send it to me. But anyway, I didn't want to really get into that.
Can I just add one thing that I learned last night? Because I feel like it's important. Yeah. Okay. And we have a collection of this different stuff, whatever. But okay, so I just learned last night from this doctor, I can send you guys a link, that fermentation, speaking on fermentation, is not good for cancer cells. And he was saying that because of the lactic acid that it creates. And so basically you want to starve them from glucose, so don't have any sugar, and then also starve them from Gluthamine. Gluthamine, am I saying that wrong? Dang it. Hold on. Glutamine. And so the glutamine, so what it is the healthy cells and the bad cells, they both need it. So you starve, and this has to do with the keto stuff, because the keto can replace, like the high proteins can replace sugars and carbs for your body without any stress on it. And then so it's that kind of thing. I'll get the links, but this is like basically like just what I was trying to learn last night. And we have all the information, and this is so important for us for you, for all of us, you know what I mean? This is the important stuff. And the prayer is part of it, because with God all things are possible. But we also want to understand, and like you were saying, Carol, we need to make it simple, because we know that can be simpler than it has been made. So that's basically what we need. So and John, I know, because I know for me, it's just when your mind and heart and everything gets involved, you know what I mean? So that's why I think just like sometimes go to your deepest place of knowing, because sometimes when you're just like looking up too much stuff, and plus we're lucky, like you said, that we've had a lot of stuff come to us in the past years that we can piece together. And so, as a people, this is what we need.
So our homework is Tara's going to get you the clip. I'm going to clip what the doctor was saying about uranium and what's causing a lot of these upticks in cancers. And Carol's going to get you all the information on fenbendazole. And then we'll all talk to figure out how we can get you the fenbendazole sent to you. And and then just have your wife contact us, and we can communicate with her. And then that way you don't have to stress out about it, because you don't want to talk about it. I wouldn't want to talk about it. And then that way we can just, communicate with your wife, give her the information, and that way you can just be happy and enjoy the outdoors, enjoy the sky, the beautiful weather, and relax, and just let her get the information. Yeah.
We're out gardening today in this terrible air. We have code red air quality alert. So, but we spend an hour out in the morning, and we've got some stone, and we're building a new little garden, and we're up at a native plant show this past weekend, and so we bought a bunch of native, brown-eyed Susans and the butterfly plants and the things that they want to encourage bringing back here as part of the natural habitat. So we're enjoying doing that together, and it's a blessing that she's finished her career so she can spend more time with me and I with her. And she's responding well to the heart attack. She's not. Well, nobody's going to be 100%, but she's doing pretty darn well. In other words, she's out there swinging the hammer, swinging a axe today. Just swinging that thing to cut those darn vines under the ground that we need to get rid of. So anyway, we've got an awful lot of fun stuff to do here at the house, and I'm not in any pain. It's not like that. It's just like scary. And the other reason that
preventative. You want to be preventative.
To say something was not only just because I love you guys so much, but because for some reason I turned on Twitter today, and Peter Duke's show, the Duke Report, was on, and it was him talking to George Webb. And the moment that I turned it on, George was telling Peter about our trip down to Florida to meet with Ed Haslam, the author of Dr. Mary's Monkey. And he was talking about, me and SV40 and everything like that. Wow, this is weird. The universe is lining up in some way that, this is part of something bigger than me. It's a big plan, maybe, so who knows? But I find coincidences more and more interesting as I get older, but I feel fine. I
love you so much, and I love all you guys, and I feel like even when I'm trying to like scramble to get stuff together, like just everything that we've been to means so much to me. John, getting to laugh my freaking butt off, like almost pee my pants in person with you, just because we're like just having so much fun. And
Oh my God.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so
I'm
that takes us the whole way. And I'm so glad to have you guys, and anything at all,
And
you know,
how's
here
our
we are.
brother? How's my brother Dave doing?
He's doing so awesome.
Yeah.
He's somewhere around here, but we're both very happy that it's summertime, and do look forward at some point to getting in person with you guys.
Yeah. Cape Cod sounds good. Yeah. Okay.
Well, John, I'm going to read you a comment from your chat, and it's Paul Enkelbrecht, and he said, I've been told I had cancer 3 times. Each time I told the doctor that I did not have cancer. Each time a few weeks later, voila, no cancer.
Well, Paul, I'm happy for you. I hope it happens to me too. The doctor said, that it may be just a very unusual thing, but sometimes it happens that you get a bounce in that PSA rating and then it goes back down. But he said that's very unlikely, though. It's something to take seriously. So I'll be talking to him again tomorrow, and I will certainly read everything that you send me and the recommendations. But I really do appreciate the fact that you guys are reaching out and doing all of this great research in so many different directions, and it's unstoppable. Uh, but we've got to stop them, and that's you don't get to have a perfect candidate for presidency, but among the ones that are appearing right now, I am so strongly in favor of Bobby, just because of, he can walk, talk, and chew gum at the same time. How about that? He doesn't trip over his own shoes. You know, he talks in coherent sentences. I mean, we haven't had this in ages. You know,
Right.
no, I mean, and one of the biographies I read recently, I mean, just a blurb about him mentioned it this way. He said he inherited his father's uh, uh, Brahmin attitude, not attitude, but Brahmin speech. In other words, like a Harvard guy, he can talk, in just flowery, great vocabulary, and you know, like if you watch the way he handled this question at this town hall yesterday, and you can see the clip on Twitter. A doctor stood up and asked a question about, and the question was, why are you lying to the American people about vaccines or something like that? Why are you saying all these stupid things? and and Bobby just took all it was a complex question. I just squinched it together for sake of brevity. But Bobby just took his time and just explained the whole thing. I mean, and and it all was completely tied to the guy's question, and it made so much sense. And I just love that. I mean, it's just,
Well,
wow,
John,
this
I
is
will
what
say,
I've
I
been
will
living
say
for, somebody that really can talk. Go ahead, Amber.
we need to lecture his wife because his wife made sure when they had a dinner party at their house
Yeah.
that nobody could come to the party without being vaccinated.
Yes.
So, and he gave in to her.
I
So
wonder.
if he's
I
going to
know.
give in to
I
his
wonder if
wife,
that's real.
Well,
yeah. So he needs
maybe
a
Gotta
he
ask
regrets
her.
that.
yeah.
Maybe he
There's
regrets
an
that.
issue. We got an issue.
That's
I
fine,
think
but one
there's
issue isn't going to pull me off of my candidate. I'm not. I'm going to
well
let that one go. Tara.
wherever people land. I'm just glad that there's good people that are stepping up to the plate.
Hmm. Yeah, there do seem to be
Yep.
more too. So
Yeah.
it's great to see it.
I was
And
just
it
tired
has
of the
been a
Bush Clinton,
blast.
Bush Clinton, Bush Clinton, Bush, Bush Clinton,
Hmm.
Bush, Bush
Yeah.
Clinton, Bush. I was just really getting really tired of that.
Hmm.
Well,
Old
yeah, and
news.
it's well, golly, I've got some great video from back in those days, and the J6 video that I have, although YouTube took it all down, I still got it,
Oh,
and
yay.
I'll be republishing this stuff. I'm hoping to get some help, somebody to come and just sit down at the computer and republish a lot of these old files that I don't want them to disappear. I want to keep I want all my book readings back up. You know,
Yay.
those book readings are really my work, and
Yeah.
I had 903 videos up on my first channel, including about 10
Wow.
books. And they crashed my channel because of one or two or three videos that they didn't like. But what about the other 900? Well, they're gone now.
Well,
I'm going to do what it takes to republish them. That's because I didn't do that just to let them disappear. I think I am creating an important record of important research that other people have done. But my whole thing has been I don't need to reinvent the wheel if somebody's already written the book.
mhm.
I don't need to write the book about viruses and vaccines because I got it in my hand. You know, I don't need to understand an ionized sky because I got Alana Freeland's book about ionized sky, and on and on and on. And my program is based upon my books, and that. So that's my passion. Is I want to get an accessible library of video that I've already made, merged in with what I'm doing, and make it kind of like a project that you can just go to and turn it on and the whole book plays, or find what you want. But it's going to be there, and along with that, I'm going.
John, I think you've given us a whole education in the great books of authentic history, and all of us that have been watching you feel like it's been 4 years of learning. And Professor Hamamoto's in there too. We've learned cultural forensics. We've got, Mark and George. We've all learned so much together.
Well, Carol,
That's so
there's
wonderful.
some of the best researchers out there on Twitter Spaces are now sharing Dr. Mary's monkey. And I didn't want to brag and say that was something everyone was talking about 4 years ago, but everyone now, like in the public, and the ones that they look at as, oh, they're great at researching, they're now talking about it and sharing it. That's great. And I think we need to put a prayer out there for a lot of these January 6th people, because the wives and family members have these Twitter Spaces and they're in solitary confinement. Some women haven't seen their husband in over 300 days. They still haven't had a trial. They're forcing them to a plea deal, even though it's a misdemeanor. And even for people who didn't even walk in the Capitol, or people who were just right in the rotunda on the side that they had the doors open and they have the video to show, but the judge won't even allow that video. And the one person who was going to be able to have their court case in Florida at the very last minute, almost 2 weeks before they were supposed to go to court, they went ahead and pulled it and put it right back in DC. So they're putting people in jail nonstop, and people are on these spaces. So we need to say a prayer, because our government has turned vigilante crazy. And after the summer of love, where they burned down half the damn country, we see DAs bending over backwards and almost dropping their pants to make sure that those people are out and that there's no bad mark on their record for what they did. So I think it's disgusting. We have an unfair justice system. And right now, justice is not blind. So they're messing with our Constitution, which is absolutely unacceptable. So we need to say a prayer for those people.
That's right. And preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's the oath. That's the oath my father took. That's the oath that our military takes, and our judges, and everybody who assumes a public office swears that oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And many died for that right. And these people are just literally throwing it away, and it's disgusting.
Well, we need to really fight for it, because we can't get too far away from it. That's a danger zone. We won't be able to get it back. So Constitution, Bill of Rights, this is like our constant thing that we need to just be like, yep, the angels, they only get stronger. So it's on.
All right.
We're not gonna stop.
Protecting the nest. It's been a great evening for me. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, John.
And I'll get you guys back together with me real soon if you're willing.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. Stay
I'll be
healthy.
thinking about you. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for being with us.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.